Peace, guys. I almost rescheduled this, and I'm gonna try and do as much of this build as I can. I got something to play for you guys, and then we're gonna get into a read.
They are the Native Americans, the original Americans who occupied this country before the first white.
Meat and bones. When they say Native Americans, keep it in mind.
Settlers. Today, hundreds of tribes of Native Americans are on Indian reservations scattered across the U.S., striking a fine balance between thriving in the modern world and holding tight to their past. Native Americans hold a deep-rooted desire to protect the heritage, culture, and language of their ancestors.
The nations are all different. Their songs, their culture, their religion, language. There were 500 different nations, 500 different languages, 500 different cultures.
From where?
In this land.
Where they came from? What land?
And everyone tries to preserve that. That's their identity.
If we don't preserve that history, that culture of that specific tribe, we're losing out on something that may enrich the lives of our children, allowing these kids to come into the school systems to learn about the other cultures.
Here they go. Mind you, you guys know we're about to get into the deep root. Joseph, peace, brother, peace. We're going to get to the root of it and make sure we eat all the meat. All the meat, no bones. Oh, you guys can't see it. It's stopping on me, guys. Suzanne P says, you already know. Now, mind you, I'm just playing the Bluetooth. this is absurd. It can't be the windows. I'll be thinking maybe it's my windows. But how can it be the windows when it's on the phone playing on the Bluetooth? Let's try it again. Hold on, guys. I want you guys to get this information because we're about to read some stuff that is going to clarify that. Hold on a second. See, let me go back. Let me go back and see what's going on. It's acting real. Yeah, something's going on with the internet. I've been having internet issues like all day. I just changed the internet finally, and I'm thinking everything's going to be much better. It seems like ever since I changed and supposedly upgraded it to something different. Let's try this one more time. I don't know what's going on. This thing is really crazy. Let's see. They're playing with me. You know what? This thing acting real stupid. I'm gonna ignore this because now it's done. I got enough going on with distractions, so we'll leave that for now. I want to get into this to show you this information, guys. Let's get to it. We are going to start reading the Delawares, the Shawanees, and the other tribes of the middle and western states I'm reading this specifically because I'm going to get to a particular point in this chapter that I found very important, and I just want to clarify that and bring the information details on that. Okay. Now, this is the Delaware, the Shawanee, and other tribes of the Middle and Western states. Chapter 1. The Delawares, William Penn, Saint Tammany. That's going to be very important. Saint Tammany, guys. The Moravians, the Shawanees, French and Indian War, Braddock's defeat, massacre of the Conestoga Indians, and Daniel Boone. This is what we'll be going over. I'm going to read through most of it and take it from there. The noble race. It says they are a noble race, but they are gone with their old forests wide and deep. And we have built our homes upon fields where their generations sleep. Do you hear that? Associated with the early history of the Delawares are thoughts of William Penn and his peaceful intercourse with the powerful influence over the wild natives whom he treated. At the first settlement of the country by Europeans, the tribes of the nation occupied no small portion of the present state of Pennsylvania. But their principal settlements lay between the Potomac and the Hudson, situated between the Great Northern and the Southern Confederacies. They were in turn in enmity and engaged in war with either party. Oh, I'm sorry. Engaged with war with either party. But at an early day, they were in a measure subdued and reduced to a state of inferiority by the Six Nations. Who reduced their state of inferiority? The Six Nations. Now, that video I just showed you, they tried to portray um, these Delaware Indians as natives, right? Native Americans, and we know the difference between the Native Americans, so on and so forth. Just a moment. Peace, Elizabeth.
Did you see anything package?
Yeah, I put it on your bed.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second, guys. All right, so situated between the Great Northern and the Southern Confederacies, they were in turn at enmity and engaged in with either party. But at an early day, they were in a measure subdued and reduced to a state of inferiority by the Six Nations. The conduct of Penn toward the Indians has ever been spoken of with high admiration, and we are assured that his care for their interests and anxiety to secure their picture of this crazy person. Their rights and to protect them from wrongs and aggression caused his name to be idolized among the Delawares. Upon obtaining the immense grant from the crown named Pennsylvania at the time, of its bestowment, his first thought was to draw up a table of conditions and concessions for the government of those who should adventure with him in the settlement of the wilderness. He expressly stipulated in behalf of the Indians that their persons and property should be protected by the same laws and penalties as those of the whites. Is that a benefit or is that a curse? Check this out. You hear this? He expressly stipulated in behalf of the Indians that their persons and property should be protected by the same laws and penalties of those of the whites. So why would they want to be of the same laws and penalties of the whites if they're not even the whites? If they're a different clan and there's so many other things going on with them and their race, there were all these wars, so on and so forth. Why would they be concerned about them having protection as the whites when they were the ones invaded? It does not even make sense, right? That overreaching in trade should be avoided by the conduct of all sales in market overt. Well, why are they talking about sales in market overt when they're saying that these people, were savages? They didn't have anything put together, anything that was you know, a foundation, so on and so forth, right? That a jury of 6 whites and 6 Indians should pass upon matters in dispute between individuals of the different races, and that the interest of the Indians should be made the special care of every magistrate. Do you hear that? In dispute between Indians of the different races, in dispute, hear this again, guys, in dispute between individuals of different races, and that the interests of the Indians should be made the special care of every magistrate. So they want to take on all the responsibility and the care of all of the Indians. Why? Because we know with those boarding schools and the Indian schools, this is a way for them to incorporate, bringing in the canon law, right? Casting over on the birth certificate would come a little later, but this was the casting of a governance over the lands, bringing things under certain authorities, so on and so forth, so that they can actually try to assume or control certain things within, right? So let's keep it moving. In the autumn of 1682, Penn came over from England to regulate his new colony, and especially to confirm the friendly relations existing with the Indians inhabiting his territory, Mhm. In Clarkson's memoirs of Penn, the following mention is made of his grand treaty with these native proprietors. From religious scruples, he did not consider his claim by virtue of the king's grant to be valid without the assent of the occupants, and he determined to make honorable purchases of all that he should require. Arrangement had been made by commissioners previous to Penn's arrival for a great meeting for the purpose of ratifying the proposed deal. He proceeded, therefore, at the appointed time, accompanied by his friends, consisting of men, women, and young persons of both sexes, to Coquanac, the Indian name for the place where Philadelphia now stands. Philadelphia before was Coquanac. Coquanac, the Indian name for the place where Philadelphia now stands. On his arrival there, he found the Sachems and their tribes assembling. They were seen in the woods as far as the eye could carry. They were seen in the woods as far as the eye could carry, and looked frightful, both on account of their number and their arms. The Quakers are reported to have been but a handful of comparison, and these without any weapons, so that dismay and terror had come upon them had they not confided in the righteousness of their cause. The conference took place upon the afterwards occupied by the town of Kensington, a few miles above Pennsylvania, and called by the Indians Shackermaxon. There was at Shackermaxon an elm tree of prodigious size. To this the leaders on both sides repaired, approaching each other under its widely spreading branches. And as you guys remember, when we read in the book before, it was giving us a lot of information about the trees, right? Which was very important to the well-being and the health of everything in the air and the atmosphere and so on and so forth. To this, the leaders of both sides repaired, approaching each other under its widely spread branches. Shows you how wide they were. Penn wore no ornament or symbol of authority except a blue sachet. Standing up before the assembly, he directed the articles of merchandise brought by the purchasers to be spread before him, and displayed the engrossed copy of the treaty, awaiting the movement of the Indian chiefs. One of the sachems, who was chief among them, put upon his own head a kind of chaplet, in which there appeared a small horn. Shout out to Red Squid. He showed some pictures of these people that had these horns that were coming out of their head. And they were like, what is this? What was the symbolization? They were kind of, talking about it. And this is actually a derivative of that. The information on that is that they were considered to be worthy of some type of nobleness, having this horn appear out of their head. A small horn. This is among the primitive Eastern nations, and according to scripture language, was an emblem of kingly power. So having the horn coming from the head was a symbol of kingly power. Upon putting on this horn, the Indians threw down their bows and arrows and seated themselves around their chiefs in the form of a half moon upon the ground. The interpreter now announced the readiness of the chiefs to listen. And Penn proceeded to read and explain the provisions of the treaty. He premised that he and his people used no warlike implements, but that all their desire was for peace and concord. By the Articles of Agreement, the Indians were to be allowed to retain possession for all needed purposes, even on the land sold. The Indians, I'm just highlight this part. By the Articles of Agreement, the Indians were to be allowed to retain possession for all needed purposes, even on the land that was sold. So if the land is sold and they're saying they have the possession, how could it be sold to someone if they had the possession? If they're saying that they had the possession, then even if it was sold, does that make sense? Brother, what's going on, babe? Peace to you. Let me know if you want to jump up, bro. Put in the chat. I don't usually drop the thing unless somebody want to come up. All right, guys, 1 second. All right, so let's get back to it. I'm getting distracted. Sorry, guys. Okay. And particular specifications were inserted, touching the manner in which their rights should be enforced. I'm going to go back and read this part just one more time before we proceed on. By the Articles of Agreement, the Indians were to be allowed to retain possession for all needful purposes, even on the land that was sold. Any needful purpose, they were to obtain the possession of it still. The particular specifications were inserted, touching the manner in which their rights should be enforced. He then made the stipulated payments. Distributed additional presents, and laying the parchment on the ground. Proceeded to say that he would not do as the Marylanders did, that is, call them children or brothers only, for often parents were apt to whip their children too severely, and brothers sometimes would differ. Neither would be compared the friendship between him and them to a chain, for the rain might sometimes rust it, or a tree might fall and break. But he should consider them as the same flesh and blood with the Christians. You hear this nonsense? And the same as if one of the man's body were to be divided into two parts. Handing the parchment of the chief sachem, Penn then desired him and his associates to preserve it carefully for 3 generations, that their children might know what had passed between them, just as if he had remained himself with them to repeat it. This, says Voltaire, was the only treaty between those people and the Christians that was not ratified by an oath. It was not ratified by an oath. The only treaty between those people and the Christians that was not ratified by an oath, and that never was broken. After accounts of the Indians as given by Penn and his associates, in which the estimable points of native character, points of native character are pleasingly portrayed, contrast strangely with the maledictions and bitter expressions of hatred which too many of early chroniclers heap upon their Indian enemies. Never was a truer saying than the Spanish proverb, "He who has injured you will never forgive you." Now, here's the great part right here, which is another reason I wanted to get into this book. I was addressed by Moorish princess, right? This ignorant, foolish child. She literally did a whole live on me because she has nothing going on in her life. She did an entire live on me talking about, she said that they weren't Indian. She don't know something, saying some ignorant junk when I was trying to explain to her that we didn't call ourselves Indian. And this is just for you. Shout out to you, Moorish princess, because, you need some studies and some things to, get you in order, sweetheart. So let me clarify something right now. And this is why, right? Okay, check this out. The name by which these Indians have ever been designated was bestowed upon them by the English. The name by which these Indians have ever been designated was bestowed upon them by the English from Lord DELAWARE. In their own tongue, they were called the Lenni Lenape. The Lenni Lenape people, the original people, the Lenni Lenape of the original Turtle Island. This is the Turtle Island. I'm going to show you guys some pictures. Oh, did I put them on the computer? Let me see. I might have to check in 1 second. If not, I'll put them up on my community page, guys, when this live is done. I'm going to show you some information on them, and it's actually, let me see. I might be able to pull it up. Let me just double check before I proceed, because I might can show you guys just a little bit of what I'm talking about, but I gotta verify. It's not on there. If not, I will definitely be pulling it up on the page for you guys on the community page. You'll be able to look at some information, some pictures actually about the Lenapes, the Lenni Lenape, the Delaware Indians. Okay. Okay, so yes, I do have it, but I'm not able to pull it up right now on the computer. Conspicuous among the traditions of the Delawares appears the name of their old chief Tammany or Tammany. Here goes the very second and very important point of me doing this build. I wanted you guys to get this information and obtain this. And these are two very important points. Okay. It speaks and it says that in their own tongue they were called the Lenni Lenape. Original people were Lenni Lenape, not Indian. This name was bestowed upon us. The name of Indians was bestowed upon us by the English from Lord DELAWARE. Lord DELAWARE is the one that gave this name. Okay. Now I'm going to continue to read this on. This is so very important and as well. And I'm going to go back to this part again. In their own tongue, they were called the Lenni Lenape, which is the original people, as the chief and principal stock from which mankind in general, had sprung. The chief principal stock from which mankind in general had sprung. Let me put this in the chat. Some of these words may come up different. For some reason, a lot of these old books, when you put it in there, it'll have like letters in place of the words. And drop the link. Okay, bro. Perfect. Here I come. Let me get this done because, you know, I love for you to elaborate on some of this stuff with me. Okay, hold on. Let me put this in the chat. And then drop the link from my bro so we can finish this out. Because this is going to get really interesting. There's something else that's going to be very important that we're about to go over in this next section. Let me wait till my brother jump up here, and then I'll elaborate on that at that time. Okay. All right. Oh yeah, just to elaborate on this, right? Do you guys get this, right? It says they were the Lenni Lenape, and it says that they were the original people, and it says that they were the principal stock from which mankind in general had sprung. Hold on a second. Okay. All right. Conspicuous among the traditions of the Delaware appears the name of their old chief, Tammany or Tammany, right? Chief Tammany, the old saint. Let's get into that. We have no very specific accounts of the history of this renowned sachem, but veneration with which the Indians recounted his wisdom and his virtues that served to raise his character so high with the colonists even that he was in a manner canonized. The Home Journal on June the 12th of 1852 makes the following mention of the singular respect paid to his memory. Check this out. Hold on, bro, up here. Bro, what's going on, bro?
What's good, sis? What's popping with you?
I think I got to turn this up a little. Am I low? Because, man, you sound low. Let me just turn it up. Maybe I had it down. It is kind of low.
Yeah, you hear me now?
Yes, I had my computer download, bro. I just turned it back up. So yeah, what about these the Lenape people, bro? The Delaware, the original people.
Well,
What
I'm
do you
gonna
got to
tell
say
you,
about
man.
them people?
This book right here is more than likely written by a person of Portuguese or Italian descent. And the reason I'm gonna say that is because if you notice how they're using Spanish sayings, so if you pay attention to the twist in how they're using it, which I'm gonna say off rip, what they're stating as far as the word Indian, it predates way before the word English was even created. So there's no way that the word Indian come from English when the word Indian was way before the Englishmen itself, because the
Mm.
Englishmen, right, the Englishmen were Anglo. So they cannot say that they come from the Englishmen when the Englishman was the Anglo.
Lord DeLaroy. So I'm thinking when they're saying, just to clarify, bro, I'm thinking when they're saying the English, right? They're talking about the English, the dark English. So you don't think that that's what they're
Nuh-uh.
referencing?
Like, well, we gonna do a build on this for everybody listening to this. We're gonna do a build on it. The Indian and the Yahudites and all of them joined Romans because they had common enemies back in Maccabees, the first Maccabees, the book of Maccabees. We're gonna cover Maccabees, and we're gonna cover where the Indians and the Judites, which was Judah and his brothers and all of them, joined the Roman Empire in order to defeat the common enemies, and these were the Spanish conquistadors.
Mhm.
So this book right here is good. You breaking this wide open, because even to how they're trying to still twist it, they're trying to make us lose the title, that significant master title, Indian, because the Constitution was written before this book was. So they said in June 18 of 1958, the Constitution goes way back before then. So we got to pay attention to how these books
No, no,
even.
no, no. I think it says 16 something, brother. Hold on. It says 1600 is reference, or 18. Yeah, 18. It said June 12th of 1852, but earlier it said, I think it said the 1600s was when this story was supposedly written, around that time. That's what it said anyway, which we have to
Right, right.
count.
We know that that's, calculated, dated early,
Yes.
way early, but that's why I was saying that, because how you breaking this book open is also making the English and the Indian be against each other. Another way of segregating the same people, because most Anglos have Indian blood. And so when they put this Lenny Lenape into the midst and the twist, this is where the Spanish Moors and the conquistadors get involved in placing themselves into claiming to be indigenous to this land. So then it goes into a deeper twist to where even this Turtle Island talk comes from a foreign group of people, because nowhere in record has it ever been known as a Turtle Island, which Turtle Island still exists to this day. It's where all the sea turtles go and mate and have their kids and leave. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
when they started naming this Turtle Island, that came with them Spanish conquistadors. That's why all the Moors call this Turtle Island and all that shit too. It's a trick. We gotta keep breaking the spells, because it's a lot more coming in front of us.
Mm. Okay, okay. I'm
Mhm.
glad you jumped up. So check it out. Listen to this part. This book. You know me, when I be reading these books, bro, I get fascinated. Especially, I'm not a big historian. I'm just learning this. If you, and for anybody that's listening, guys, bear with me when I go into certain things. A lot of the stories give a lot of truth in these books, but as you know, we always got to do the meat and bones, because we don't know what's what. When we heard them earlier, when it was talking about the native, we already knew it was a little twist to it, but we just had to read through it to figure it out. I thought it
Yeah,
very fascinating because it was saying the original people, and I have heard of the Lenni Lenape before, and it was
right.
showing some references to these to that Turtle Island thing. I always hear everybody talking about Turtle Island, so I'm like, wait a minute, I wanted to read this so to go over there. So this is like perfect. Now this is another interesting part. Check this out, bro. This is what fascinated me as well with this particular book.
Well, I
It
want to say
says
something
that
real quick.
Satan.
want to say
Sure,
something
sure.
real quick. For everybody listening, my sister, she's a beast at narrating this information. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of great narrators, you know what I'm saying, that's narrating this information. So, you know, y'all get a chance, go and look through the Aboriginal communities, look through Dane Calloway's and all of those people that's narrating this information. This is how we break stuff open, because we need people that be able to find these books and to be able to crack these books open, because these are receipts. Go ahead, sis.
Yes. Oh, and when you said that, bro, I gotta say, shout out to the dude Curry Mayo. I heard a lot about this guy. I never seen any of his videos because I really didn't even know who he was. I just heard of his name in the community, right? The other day, the brother must have went live with this video. I cannot remember the video, but 2 days ago, if anybody is familiar with him, he did a video, and that thing was great. I can't even remember what the topic was, but it was a really good video. I didn't see the whole thing, but I like that brother information, bro. I've heard a lot of negative stuff, so I never really checked them out, right? But I had a chance to happen to catch one of his lives. And I was impressed. You know, he does a very good job. He's very thorough. You know, he explains, he takes his time. You know, I thought his presentation was really good. So I don't know if you're familiar with him, bro. Are you familiar with the guy or his information, and how vital do you think his information is? Because he seemed very, very thorough. I gotta say that. So I want to ask you about that.
You know, this is the thing, man. This is for everybody that, you know, get a chance to listen to this. You know, we all have lanes and we all have places, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, back in 2017, about mid 2017, Carameo, Bones and Coach, A1, you know, these guys, they invited me up on a panel, you know, and I've been listening, you know, since, you know, 15, and listening to other stuff because I've been already on this path, and I've just been waiting for a lot of people to come into it. And so, you know, when they invited me up, you know, Carameo, you know, a Continus one, you know, these guys, they invited me up to speak. And, you know, I just was loaded with information for years because I've been in this, you know, my dad, he spoke 3 different tongues. And, you know, my mom, you know, I grew up knowing I was American Indian from the beginning. So, you know, it's just, you know, it's been great to be able to come into people that's actually coming into the information and actually, you know, becoming close to their truths, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, shout out to Caramel, you know, I ain't got nothing against him. You know, he's a great narrator at what he do, you know what I'm saying? You know, we had tons of builds where me, him, and a couple of the guys, you know, that's not together no more, actually was all on panels and had a fucking stupid crowd, and the videos probably peaked at 20, 50,000 views or more, you know, but we got to just focus on the information and stop trying to knock other people that's sharing the
Right.
information. You know,
Yeah,
like
I
we got.
love that video he did, bro. I mean, I didn't see the whole thing, but I just literally happened to catch it. It must have had just started. I think it was saying he was live like 15, 20 minutes. So I caught the beginning of it, but I just couldn't watch the whole thing. But when I say, I was like, oh, this is Curry Mill. This dude is great. And I think Georgia Peach sent me a video to watch of something he did to build on that she thought was really good, but I didn't get a chance to see it either. But
Yeah,
man,
shout out to
I
DOP,
gotta
man.
shout him out.
Shout
I
out.
like the video he did the other day.
Right. You know, and the thing is, that's what we got to start, you know, understanding that if it's our information being shared, we got to accept our truths being shared, because the lies are coming out. Let's kill the fucking lies, no matter. Because on top of that, you know, we got our brothers that, you know, got panels and stuff, be upset about situations with, you know, people like him, but yet, you know, use a pale face video to substantiate or confirm some shit they've been digging on. We can't do that. You can't be biased in shit and letting our information get out. We got to let the shit come from every angle it comes from.
And real quick, bro, Ron says he said he's good, and he said he thinks the black people have the Hebrew curse of black skin. What does he mean? What does Jan mean by that? I don't understand.
Hold on, let me see
What
what
does
we.
black people have the Hebrew curse of black skin? What is that? What does he mean by that? I'm sorry. Yes, baby.
No. I think he was meaning that Caramel, Uh, you think that the color folk had the curse of the curse of the black skin or whatever, but no, Caramel actually he actually worship us, man. You know what I'm saying? And I mean that's the thing. We gotta worship ourselves. You know, how can we expect somebody else to love us if we can't love our own people, man? You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of strange to say, but Caramel, you know, he's putting a lot of more effort in than our own people is putting in their own shit. So,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? Even though he's not the complexion we are, you know what I'm saying? We got to respect the grounds that he's covering. You know what I'm saying? He's sharing information. He's brought a lot of people into our Aboriginal community. So, you know, for all the panel holders, we gotta allow what's gonna happen. You know, it ain't in our control. You know what I'm saying? The higher powers is involved now. So we just gotta continue working and going forward with shit. Shout out to Red Squid, was popping, brother.
Yeah, shout out to Red Squid too.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out, Darlene. What's going on, sis? But that's
Yes,
what it
peace,
is,
darling.
man.
Peace to the chat. Okay, yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so check, bro. I'm so. Oh, listen. When I say you pop at the perfect time, so check this out. This part right here really fascinated me. So you got to tell me what you think of this because, mind you, remember the other book? Let me see which one was. I can't remember the name of it. I ain't gonna even lie, but a book that I think you either were in the chat or on the panel with me, and I was reading, and it was talking about them coming and. Damn, I lost my whole thought. It's so much going on in this house. I'm sorry. Let me just keep it moving. Okay, let me just read it. Saint Tammany is, we believe, our only American saint. He was the chief of an Indian tribe which inhabited Pennsylvania, while that state was still a colony, and excited so much respect by his virtues and exploits, both among the white and the red men. Now, check this out. So, this part, when it says the white and the red men, this is definitely an Indian that they're talking about right
Yeah,
now.
we're talking
That
about
is
the
a copper
Indian. Yep,
Indian, period. Right?
yep,
Okay, I just want to
yep,
clarify because
yep.
the previous was
You know,
implicating something else, right?
I was gonna say because you know why he was a dusky brown. He was a
Yes.
dusky. Yep. Go ahead.
Yes, yes. Check this out, y'all. This is good. And then it's gonna get aggravating because it's like, man, they always try to cast us away, but shit, this shit's staying just like it's right here in this book, and we reading it today. So make sure y'all know this. Check it out. I'm gonna start it again. Saint Tammany is, we believe, our only American saint. He was the chief of an Indian tribe which inhabited Pennsylvania while that state was still a colony. So even when they colonized it, this is important too. He was so strong. They nation was so powerful. Even though it was colonized in that area, he still was a high chief. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Everything he
sis.
demanded, even with the colony. Oh,
Ooh,
yeah. Did you hear
sis.
this, bro? Come on, bro.
No,
Come on, that's deep.
listen.
I'm sorry.
We
Go
finna
ahead.
eat this up real bad. Now, what I was just stating, as far as the Lenni Lenape being Spanish Moors,
Hmm.
he's saying even when it was still a colony, which means that the Indians had already colonized that place and it was an active
Yes.
city. Even when the Indians was in control, he still had his little portion.
Yes, exactly. He still was like, "What y'all better stay y'all ass away from this part right here. I don't care what y'all doing over there. They done let y'all
Right.
took over. Y'all done let these people come in, invade, taking y'all. Y'all ain't getting our stuff. It was on that time.
Yep,
Listen,
yep.
on
He's
real time.
they actually stating that the Indians had the colonies already active when he had his colony put together. And that's why they say even though the whites and the red men, okay, the red men, okay, where's the tan man, the natives?
Exactly. The yellow man that they was talking
Yeah,
about last week. Not last week, they wasn't talking about, but we was talking about last week that they said the yellow man. They just
yeah.
cut got all these colors colored off. So they can know
Mhm.
who they was talking about, when, what, when, where. And it said earlier in the book, I don't know if you was in there, bro. It was saying how, oh, he kept this particular story was written so that they would have the story for their generations to come. So they could make sure that they knew certain things. So this was like probably more like a personal journal per se, and it ended up getting passed down. This is what it sounded like from the book. Okay, keep that
Mhm.
in mind as well. Hmm.
Keep going.
Okay, let's
Keep
go.
going.
It says, I'm going to read this one little part again. While that state was still a colony and excited so much respect by his virtues and his exploits, both among the white and the red man. They all respected him because his virtues and everything was just so outstanding. They ain't had no choice but to respect this man. He demanded it, basically, is what it's telling you, okay? That after his death, he was canonized. He was canonized after his death, and the day of his birth, the 1st of May, regarded as a holiday. Now check this out. This is the part that's a little aggravating, but here comes the Spanish and they stuff and stupid ass President Roosevelt. Okay, all Christian colonies, all Christian countries. I'm sorry. All Christian countries says that the Savannah Republican have their tutelar saint. England has her St. George. Scotland has her St. Andrew. Ireland has her St. Patrick. France has her St. Crispin. Spain has her St. Jago. And in this country, this one right here in America, we have St. Tammany, and we still do in high regard if you were to regard the respects and everything of a saint. Because I listen, homeboy holding it down amongst the colonies, that's the respect right there. I don't even got to hear no more about nothing he did, but was still holding it down when they was trying to colonize. Like what? I'm still in my place. And they respected him till he was gone. He was still the chief till he died. That's when things probably got weaker because then nobody had that authority that he had. You feel me? Is what it sounds like. But okay, let's move on. Throughout the Revolutionary War, the natal day of this saint was observed with great respect by the army as well as by the people. It was not till Mr. Jefferson's administration, I meant to say Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, right? His am I saying it? Is that the right president? I'll be mixing these names up, bro, just to make sure I'm saying it right. The president in 1801 to 1809, it was Thomas Jefferson, right? Was it Thomas Jefferson, bro, or somebody else?
Yeah, it was Thomas Jefferson. Keep going.
It was Thomas Jefferson. Okay. All right. Perfect. So let's check out what he did. It was not until Mr. Jefferson's administration, when General Dearborn was Secretary of War, that the observance of it by the Army was dispensed with. So up until Thomas Jefferson in 1801 to 1809, he was the president, right? So somewhere during that time, because it's not specifying the year, but somewhere within that time, he took the that observance away. But it had been upheld up until that time. That's power. I'm sorry. That's like crazy.
These
And
are
the change was
also
made then only. Go ahead, bro.
Thomas Jefferson was also a colored man as well. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. And the change was made then only with the view of carrying out the system of retirement, which the president sought to introduce in the administration of the government. The first fort built at St. Mary, Camden County, and perhaps the first fort in the state was called Fort St. Tammany. They need to name the fort after him. A general now residing in the city was present while a boy at a celebration by the officers and soldiers stationed at the fort of St. Tammany's Day. The maypole used on this occasion was a tree with its branches and bark removed, and around that the soldiers danced and celebrated the day. It was among the Delawares that one of the most interesting communities of Christian enemies. Remember Indians. Remember we were reading about John something, whatever the guy's name was, and he went around. He was a colonizer's best damn friend. Remember in the book last week they were saying that he literally went to all of the different tribes and converted them over to the Christianity. The white man had to do nothing but just send him out. He was just one of them. Okay, ever existing in America, and was established by the efforts of the Moravian mission. The vulnerable Count Dindendorf Vindendorf, David Zeisberger, and John Heckewelder. Oh Lord, I hate saying these freaking names. They be so annoying. Were zealous. They don't even come out right. They don't even feel right on my soul, my spirit, my tongue. None of that shit. Real talk. I'm sorry, y'all, but were zealous and prominent partakers in the work of converting and instructing the Indians. From Heckewelder, we have received much minute and interesting details of the habits of the people, among whom he labored and humanized, and enduring influence of Christian doctrine, enforced by good example on the part of its preachers. The circumstances under which the missionary work was carried out were extremely adverse during the long and bloody French and Indian wars. Every tale of border cruelties and a massacre committed by the savages would instantly arouse a spirit of retaliation against the whole race, which makes sense to me, I guess, which frequently resulted in the most brutal outrages against the peaceful Moravian Indians. So the Moravian Indians, a population of a lawless white, inhabited the border country, whom Hecka whatever mildly rebukes in the following terms. I have yet to notice a class of people generally known to us by the name of backwoodsmen, many of whom acting up to a pretended belief that an Indian has no more soul than a buffalo. The effing nerve. And that the
Those
kill
are the crackers. Those are the crackers. That's why we call those crackers. Those are the real crackers right there. Yep, the
right
backwood
there,
boys
that's
are the
them.
crackers. Yep. Because look, the word cracker don't come from goddamn, an actual cracker or none of that shit. That shit comes from them living in the sticks. And when you walking in the sticks at night, what is you gonna hear? You're gonna hear crackling.
Right. Talking about
Yep.
humanized. They
Yeah,
humanize.
them
They got
crackers
the
right there.
man, these animals. Um
Them
by their
crackers.
conduct brought great trouble and bloodshed on the country. Such then I wish to caution not to sport in that manner with the lives of God's creatures. Believe that a time will come when you must account for such vile deeds. When those who have fallen a sacrifice to your wickedness will be called forth in judgment against you. Nay, when your own descendants will testify against you. The Shawanees. The Shawanees were a very extensive and warlike tribe. They weren't playing. They like me. I must be one of them. They were, according to Indian tradition, originally from the South, having inhabited the country in the vicinity of Savannah in Georgia and a portion of West Florida. Being engaged in continual war with the Creeks and other southern nations, and being of an adventurous and roving disposition, they finally immigrated northward and were received upon terms of friendship with the Delawares. They settled in western Pennsylvania, extending themselves gradually further west and mingling with other neighborhood nations. Their headquarters were in early times not far from Pittsburgh. In their new homes, they prospered and increased, and long remained one of the most formidable nations of the West. They united with the Delawares in hostilities against the Southern tribes. They said, "Let's get together
Yep.
against these
Hold
motherfuckers."
on, hold on, hold on. Hold on. That
Mhm.
alliance.
That
See,
part.
we could have talked about the alliance because people don't be understanding the five civilized tribes is that alliance that she's talking about
Yep.
right now. That five civilized tribes, the Lenape, the Delaware, all of these motherfuckers was tribes that went as the five civilized tribes. They took the names upon the other nations. See, Delaware and all of these tribes took the nations' names and used the names as the nation to forge these documents, which was called the Constitution. It wasn't the real articles. So they
Mm.
redid it. That's why up to 1800 something they was writing into that constitution because they had these frauds, these imposters, and some real American Indians that turned on their own indigenous people. So, like a lot of the Delaware and all of that stuff, man, those was a lot of mixed up tribes. There was a lot of tribes inside of the Delaware, but it was a lot of foreign influence as well. Because once again, you just read earlier where my man was the chief of a tribe, but he was influenced by Spanish and all of this by their sayings. You got to think about those two and two go together. In the
Mhm.
1800s is when the Spanish conquistadors actually were settling in. They got here in the late 1700s. That's where the wars began. But we were already in war before the Spanish conquistadors and seven, eight other nations of different people came here. And it wasn't just no damn dark skinned motherfuckers with curly hair. No, it was a lot of Arab, it was Asians, it was Mongol, it was a lot of different nations of people that came in different boats, and they came by the thousands in boats, but it was spread it out. It came from the northeast, it came from the southeast, came from the southwest, and the northwest. So when they hit Alaska and all of that, they conquered that quick. When they hit over there by Peru and California, all of that shit, they had a fight. When they came into Brazil, they got fucked up. When they went up there to the Northeast, they kind of got in fast because a lot of the tribes, that's the Brutes and the Franks and all of those original Anglo people, was not even there. So they went and conquered that fast and got in. That's why most of the Paleface came in through the Northeast. That was
Mhm.
their gateway of funneling people into America.
Yes. And
People got
Jermaine,
a lot of their feelings about that shit.
yeah, Jermaine Jefferson, you said if they fought against other tribes, them wasn't the original tribe. It's the complete opposite, sweetheart. They were the ones that were trying to fight against the tribes that were colonized and that were trying to work with these other people that were coming in, forming their governance with the government. Getting that this is the five tribes that we're talking about because they were the ones they were fighting against. They were trying to. We're reading right now. It just told you how they kept getting pushed further. They had to join with the Delaware. They were trying to defend their territory, brother. I mean, that's just, I don't know.
Another thing, sister, is for Mr. Jefferson to understand is that the
Wait,
Cherokee.
hold on, bro. I keep saying, hold on. I didn't know what Squid was saying up here. He said something about I might get a review for saying something about the dude's name. Okay, and then No Lie just said that you can't mention another person's name.
Yeah, I guess it's probably a new thing now.
Mm-mm.
That's crazy, but the freedom of speech is being taken away. But no, what I was finna say is that what people gotta understand is that a lot
Real
of a
quick on
lot
the
of
record
tribes.
for YouTube though, right? If they try to strike me by me mentioning about the guy's name, I'm putting it on the record right now on this recording. I'm gonna sue y'all ass.
Fair use,
Y'all
fair
gonna pay
use.
because I got fair use to say whatever I want to say out my mouth, and that's the fact. So I mean,
Fair
I'm just
use.
saying I see the two brothers mention that, so I have put fair use
Hey,
up there.
sis, no
But
trip. Don't stress that.
that
Don't
right
stress.
there, man.
That's wrong energy right now. That's not right. So let's get back to
Jen
what my man
Martin.
was saying.
Welcome, Jen Martin. I'm sorry, I've never seen that name. Thanks for coming through. Appreciate your presence in our chat. Welcome. And as
Okay.
well to you, Jermaine. I don't think I've seen you before. Peace and blessing to you.
So basically, for Jefferson, just to get a clairvoyance, man, a lot of tribes that's indigenous to America didn't get along. I mean, like a lot of the Cherokee and the Choctaw and the Chickasaw tribes didn't get along. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the Chickamauga and a lot of the Cherokee tribes fought. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what reality is. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know that the Comanche and the Apache is descendants of the Choctaw people. See, this stuff is goes so fucking deep. They erased our information out of the hands of our people. You know what I'm saying? And stop allowing our people to express this in what they call schools and classes. But it goes deep. It's real deep.
Yeah, we finna check. They finna tell a little bit more. Let's see. It
Let's
says
go.
in after times, thrilling legends of war and massacre in the dark and bloody ground and throughout the western border attest the active and dangerous spirit of this warlike and implacable tribe. In the French and Indian Wars and in the in the long struggle which resulted in our national independence. They were so mingled with other Western tribes that we shall not attempt to distinguish them, nor shall we devote that space to the biography of many of their chiefs and warriors, which their prowess might demand in a more extended work. We shall give, in their order, some of the more celebrated Indian campaigns at the West, with various incidents connected with the first settlement of the Western states. About the middle of the 18th century, the French, as already mentioned.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Let's stop. Let's cover what you just read real quick. Now,
yes, go ahead.
right here, where what I was telling people about the Franks. See, that we got to remember when we're using the word French in these books like this, we got to think of the old, the original, the Frank, the motherfucker, the indigenous people from Canada, the Franks. Yeah. So you just read go back to the top of that sentence, and it started off saying where the French in the Indian Wars,
okay,
they fought alongside each other.
It says, in the French and Indian Wars and in the long struggle which resulted in our national independence, they were so many.
Stop. You can read that sentence again, and hopefully people will understand what you just read. Read that sentence one more time and stop at independence.
Yes. In the French and Indian Wars and in the long struggle which resulted in the long struggle, listen guys, in the long struggle which resulted in our national independence.
Bam.
They were so mingled. You want to say something about that? Go ahead.
That right there is when I was trying to explain to people how the Franks and the Creole had defeated the Spanish Moors in Louisiana, down in Florida. Well, it was Florida before Louisiana. But when they defeated them down there, that's why the celebration of the Mardi Gras. Because it's the French quarters, and they're celebrating the defeat of the Spanish Moor conquistadors. That's why it's in the North Central South America every year. It's in the islands every year during the same time period. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay, I was checking the chat real quick. Let me go back. Okay, so yes, and it says they were so mingled with other Western tribes that we shall not attempt to distinguish them, nor shall we devote that space to the biography of many of their chiefs and warriors, which their prowess might demand in a more extended work. We shall give in their order some of the more celebrated Indian campaigns at the West, with various incidents connected with the first settlement of the Western states. About the middle of the 18th century, the French, as already mentioned, had in strengthening their cordon of posts between their settlements in Canada and Louisiana. They formed alliances with many Indian tribes.
Hold on.
That's what they said.
Now, listen, if the shit that I be on fucking wasn't accurate, you wouldn't fucking be reading that in the book right now. Read that shit again. Let's go. Let's get this.
Let's get it. It says, I'm going to read the part again, okay? About the middle of the 18th century, the French, as already mentioned, and as Bro mentioned, had in strengthening their cordon of posts between their settlements in Canada and Louisiana, formed alliance with many Indian tribes to whom they were brought in proximity. Their nearest and most dangerous approach to the English establishments was in the erection of the military stronghold that was called Fort Conquest. At the confluence of the Allegheny and the Monongahela, never heard of them, in the attempt to dislodge them from this post, the military talents of George Washington were first exhibited. After distinguishing himself by his bravery and prudence, by his bravery and prudence in contest with the Indians and French, which owing to an insufficiency in force, resulting in nothing decisive or materially advantageous, he was attached to the powerful army under General Braddock in the capacity of aide de camp to the commanding officer.
Man.
With with the force, look at this, with a force of more than 2,000 men, besides some Indian allies, the British generally set systematically about the reduction of the French fort, leaving a large body of troops under Colonel Dunbar at Great Meadows. He marched in compact military array to the attack. No one doubts the courage of General Braddock or his capacity to have conducted a campaign in an open and inhabited country. It was a what? It was a who? It was an open and inhabited, not uninhabited. They said it was inhabited, which we already knew this. They just love to tell on their damn self. They love to tell on themselves.
Well, hold on. At the top of that, listen, at the top of that, it tells you the British, the Indians, and the French were the motherfucking allies against the goddamn Spanish conquistadors. It's telling you right there. Look, it says it. It says and some Indian allies, the British. Come on, man. I try to break this shit down to people, and people being their feelings and emotions don't see the shit in reality. We are the crowned people. We're the kings and queens. We're the crown holders, and they stole our crown, so they gotta replace our face. They gotta erase our identities.
Yep.
Come on. Let's go. This shit is fucking nuts, man.
Bro, I told you it be making me so emotional. My chat know they know I be like, oh my God,
you get little clowns. You get little clowns that run around and make. I got little fan mans and shit. You know what I'm saying? That be making videos about me, and I love it. Promote me, because motherfucker had the nerve to say that I be on his information and I be sharing his shit, but. Okay, if I'm sharing your shit, then why are we over here and you precepting what I'm talking about right now? Little goofies, man. There's a lot of people running around here just for no reason. Stay out the way. Let motherfuckers teach this shit. Let's go.
Let's go. You got to be in it to really be in it. Like, for real. It's not like, well, I know a lot of this to people is for sure. So that's the problem, but I'm going to leave that at that. Okay, it says, we're going to start right here. A campaign in an open and inhabited country. An inhabited country. But his dogmatic obstinacy, am I saying it right? Obstinacy. His dogmatic obstinacy. What is obstinacy, brother? Do you know what they mean by that? Because I don't think I'm familiar with that word. Obstinacy. Abstinency. It's a changed word.
No, it's abstinency. Like absence.
Okay, but it's okay. Obstinacy.
Oh, hold on.
And adherence. Hold on, bro. I gotta get the. Hold on, bro. Hold on. I don't know what that is, bro. I gotta get the definition back because
abstinency is something different than abstinency.
It says it's the quality or the condition of being obstinate. Right. Okay, and I thought it was saying obstinate. Being obstinate and a stubbornness. His reputation for obstinacy. Okay. And the adherence to established tactics proved. Upon this occasion, the destruction of himself and his army. When Washington, then only 22 years of age, respectively represented to his superior the danger of an exposed march through a country like that they were traveling, and suggested the necessity for providing a sufficient party of scouts acquainted with the locality to guard against the he was insultingly checked by the ejaculation. Go ahead. What you
hold on. That's what. Stop before we go further. I just caught on to that word dogmatic, right? Now, remember, Abraham Lincoln, the copper-colored Abraham Lincoln, wrote the books about the werewolves and vampires.
I wish I had that picture. I can show you right now.
Hold on. Let me spill this real quick. So think about it. Abraham Lincoln, the copper color one, before they had replaced him and phased him off. He was writing books about the werewolves being in war and why they in war. These werewolves and all of these motherfuckers coming out of nowhere. You know, these dogmatic ass people that they were fighting against, not just soldiers. So now you're going into talking about ejaculation and all of this. It's something else that they're hinting at in this information.
Yes.
Let's go, man.
Let's go. It says, when Washington, okay, I'm sorry, let me go past that part. When Washington was only 22 years of age, danger of an exposed march through the country like that, and they were traversing and suggesting the necessity for providing a sufficient party of scouts acquainted with the locality to guard against surprise. He was insultingly checked by the ejaculation. High times. When a young buckskin teaches a British general how to fight. It was on the 9th of July in 1755 that the engagement took place. Captain Contractor, who had command of the fort, had obtained information of the advance upon the previous day. The dispatched M.D. Baudreau with all the troops he could muster to meet the enemy. His whole available force consisted of from 500 to 1,000 men, of whom the majority were Indians. But a knowledge of the ground, the gross error of the English commander, more than compensated for the disparity in the numbers and the discipline. An ambush was formed where a ravine led from a plain into a high wooded piece of ground. The advancing column had no sooner penetrated into this defile than the attack commenced. A most appalling carnage ensued. The Indians, firing from covert upon the closely marshaled ranks of the regulars, soon threw them into utter confusion. Baudreau was indeed killed at the first onset, but his lieutenant, Dumas, continued to inspire his troops and cheered them on to their now easy victory. A complete rout ensued, and the Indians, rushing from their places of concealment, fell upon the panic-stricken fugitives with their deadly tomahawks. The Virginians alone proved in any degree yes, I don't know what they thought. Effective in resisting the enemy and covering the disorderly retreat. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm distracted. I got some babies keep talking, playing, running in and out. The loss of the part of the British in killed, wounded, and prisoners was not far from 800. 800. All the artillery and baggage fell into the hands of the French, who, with their Indian allies, remained in indisputed possession of the field. Falling back upon Colonel Dunbar's reserve, instead of making a renewed stand, the whole army continued a precipitate retreat into Virginia. In this action, most of the Virginia troops, who adopting the Indian manner of warfare, betook themselves to shelter positions when the fight commenced. They fell victims to their constancy and bravery. Colonel Washington had not fully recovered from a severe attack of illness at the time. It was with great difficulty able to undergo the fatigue incident to his position. He had 2 horses shot under him and received 4 bullets through his coat, but escaped from the conflict unwounded. General Braddock died a few days after of a wound in his lung. The Delawares, and more especially the Shawanees, were implicated in the extensive conspiracy excited by the renowned Pontiac. In the year 1763, it was in this year that a cruel and disgraceful outrage was perpetrated upon a peaceful community of Indians in Conestoga, near Lancaster. No sooner had news of Indian murders and Yo, this right here pissing me off because this right here, right? This remind me of how they were saying, "Oh yeah, them slaves came and they came and took over the plantations and started killing the what's that dude name? The slave, 5 years a slave or whatever that stupid ass movie was. The movie, right, where they say that it was all these slaves that revolted. So the slaves came and revolted, and they came to the plantation, started killing the whites, so they were scared and run all this other nonsense. This sounds like that story. This is where they got this story from. So they twisted around, the slaves, but it was really the Indians. They were saying it was them being murdered by slaves. You feel what I'm saying?
There's a lot of prisoners of wars too.
Right. They said they had 800 doing this one particular one. Gathered their ass right on up. Then come on. Y'all want to come over here. Let's get it. That's what it sounds like to me. No sooner had news of Indian murders and ravages been spread among the white settlements. See, ain't this the so-called slave story? Then a determination was evinced by certain miscreants to destroy these harmless people upon suspicion or pretense that they were concerned in some way in the recent border outrages. Now, brother, ain't that what they saying? Period. I'm just saying. I want your perspective on this. When you're hearing this, right? Isn't this the story of the so-called slave, the Nat Turner? I think it's Nat Turner or somebody, the one that revolted all this. Don't that sound like that story? Tell me that story now. Come on.
This the painted picture, yeah. Just the painted picture.
Yeah. Just to paint a picture. And they took that information and used that, say, we could use this and say it was this, and that because this was going on and da. They was coming to kill us. Yeah, they was killing y'all, telling y'all to get y'all ass off the land. Y'all don't belong here. You're taking over. You're doing too much. We tried to help y'all. We done gave y'all. We've been kind and friendly like it's in our heart to do. But damn, y'all just got to take advantage. Now y'all got to go.
Somebody blocked that. Somebody blocked that porn little channel keep popping up. Yeah, I was telling somebody to block that little porn channel keep popping up.
Oh Lord, here they come. Look, we just got started.
That's Ling Ling and her people, you know what I'm saying? Ling Ling.
Girl, get back. Okay, listen. Okay, it says the Conestoga Indians were few in number. Oh, the Conestoga, that's a new name for me. Were few in number and imperfectly, I'm thinking, Lord, why I can't speak right. Imperfectly peaceful and inoffensive, very humble people. They had inhabited the same little settlement for more than a century. And according to the Heckewelders, their ancestors had been among those who had welcomed William Penn on his first arrival in this country, presenting him at the time with vision. And in the month of November 1763, 57 white savages started from Paxton to destroy this establishment. So basically, they talking still about the red man. This is about the red man right now.
No, the white. They murdered the white. Look, when they was talking about the white savages, they talking about the pale face, them servitudes. Yeah, that's why they were.
The slave.
That's why they called them.
Right, because that's why they was talking about this, because it's the slave story. Okay, right, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
The white slaves. Yeah, this the white cargo.
Here they come. I should pull this book up about they got a book even talking about them the orphan. That's how I knew about the orphan trains. I'm gonna read in that book one day. It tell everything, just like the book that Manifest we read in the book, and it had the manifest of all the people saying the name. They brought them over, having the what was it, the where they came from, how many slaves they had. Man, it was crazy. Y'all remember that book, that Manifest book, that Oregon, the orphan train book has a lot of information on it like that as well. So we're gonna definitely get into that one. There'd be so much stuff. I just don't be having time, y'all, especially right now. I'm doing a lot of stuff, but I'll be trying to make sure I get in here. That's why I was like, I had to get in here with this one. I spoke to my sis yesterday. I was like, girl, I gotta do this bill. Gotta do it. I just couldn't do it last night. I was totally depleted. I'm still tired now, but I'm still doing it because I want to get this out. I gotta try to keep moving. Y'all keep in mind, y'all know I'm used to doing a lot of lives, but I got a lot going on right now, so I really don't have the time like I like to. When I do have lax time, I'm relaxing. I might jump on somebody else's panel, might jump in their chat for a little bit just because I'm chilling and relaxing because I got time to relax. So y'all know I'm gonna get to it as soon as I can. Though keep that in mind. Y'all always in my mind trying to make sure I'm anything I find or think that I should coincide with something. I want to try to show it and make sure we can all have it. In the month of November 1763, 57 white savages started from Paxton to destroy this establishment. They murdered all whom they could find to the number of 14 of every age and sex. Dang, nasty. The remainder, 15 or 20, escaped to Lancaster and were locked up for safely in the jail. Hither, the Paxton boys, as they were termed, pursued the poor creatures and, breaking into the enclosure, brutally massacred the whole of them. The following is extracted from the letter of an eyewitness to the transaction. I ran into the prison yard, and there, what a horrid sight presented itself to my view. Near the back door of the prison lay an old Indian and his squaw, his wife, particularly well known and esteemed by the people of the town. On account of his placid and friendly conduct, his name was Will Sott. Across him and his squaw lay two children of about the age of 3 years, whose heads were split with the tomahawk. Oh my gosh. And their scalps were taken off. Toward the middle of the jail yard, along the west side of the wall, lay a stout Indian, whom I particularly noticed to have been shot in the breast. His legs were chopped with the tomahawk, his head cut off, and finally a rifle ball discharged in his mouth, so that his head was blown to atoms, and the brains were splashed against the yet hanging to the wall, for 3 or 4 feet around. Dang! In this matter lay the whole of them, women and children, spread about the prison yard, shot, scalped, hacked, and cut to pieces. These nasty savages. You ain't lying about a nasty ass savage. The events of Cresap's War, in which the Shawanees and Delawares were so largely concerned, have been already briefly described in connection with the history of the Iroquois. After the great battle at Point Pleasant, in which they and their allies were defeated, a great succession of hostilities between them and the colonists ensued. This breaking out of the Revolutionary War revived old animosities and suggested new motives for contention. The Shawanees were early won over to expose the British interest. The division of the Delawares upon the question will be hereafter explained. The best information handed down to us concerning the Shawanees at this period is to be found in the adventures of the blood pioneer Daniel Boone. Impatient of the restraints or the competitions of an inhabited country and led by a revolving adventurous spirit and by that old spirit and adventurous spirit. Now, y'all know we just read about this when I was talking to y'all about particularly we went over the information on the Pacte de Singularis, and it told you guys about that one haven spirit. This is what they, people call all this different stuff, but it's all under this one haven, which is all that boule, all this stuff that people be naming this, and that. All this stuff is just nonsense. It really is just like play acting pretty much for these people to present and play and put on a story, and people be thinking, oh, it's this stuff, no, it's lies. It's conjuncture, and even to the fact of us thinking we don't have any freaking power right now. Like it's just so sad. But let's finish. On the 8th of February. Oh, go ahead, bro.
No, I was going to say I called it theater.
Yes, the theater. All this is perpetrated for all complete fraud. Sick. And by okay, I was about to bypass. And by an enthusiastic admiration of the beauties and the grandeur of the unsettled western wilderness, he forced his way into the trackless solitude of Kentucky and laid the foundation of the settlement whose growth and prosperity are almost unparalleled. On the 8th of February, 1778, Boone was taken prisoner by a strong force of these Indians. Then, on their march against the settlement of Boonesboro, he was carried to their principal town, Old Chillicothe, on the Little Miami, and there had abundantly opportunity for observing their native peculiarities and usages. His character, his character, somewhat analogous to that of Captain John Smith, Benjamin Church, and others noted for their success with the Indians, was bold, frank, and fearless. Men of such nature and disposition, however, rude and uncultivated, are always the best able to conciliate the affections as well as exercise control over the minds of savages. You hear this shit? I gotta read that again. Men of such nature and disposition, however rude and uncultivated, are always best to conciliate the affections as well as exercise control over the minds of savages. Mhm. Boone's captors took such a liking to him that
Hold on,
they
sis.
positively,
You got to remember the savages they're mentioning are the paleface.
yes.
Yeah. So we got to look at when they're talking about the controlling the minds of the savages. This is the paleface, getting them to fight as well. Y'all motherfuckers can hear the word.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Okay, let me go back, brother. I must have lost some I read.
Right.
Thank you for
Right.
bringing
Right.
that to my attention. I had it twisted. Let me go all the way back up here. Okay, on the 8th of February, okay, Boone was taken prisoner by the strong force of these Indians. Then on their march against the settlement at Boonesboro, I hate that's why I don't like doing these lives when I'm distracted because I can't even think right. This is so crazy. I'm sorry, y'all. He was carried to their principal town, Old Chillicothe, on the Little Miami, and for observing their native peculiarities and their usages. His character somewhat analogous to that of Captain John Smith. So he was like these people, basically, and others noted for their
Right.
successes with the was bold, frank, and fearless. So they say he was bold, frank, and fearless. Men of such nature and disposition. Okay, they still talking about him particularly.
Yeah,
And I'm reading more into
they
it.
talking about a colored man. Yeah, that was yeah.
Okay, I got it. Thank you, brother. Thanks, because I was so going on that one. I'm sorry, y'all. Positively, I swear, I don't give a damn either. But I'm just, I'm sorry for y'all for being distracted. Okay, positively refused to deliver him up to the English at Detroit, whither he was conveyed with his companions, leaving the rest of their prisoners at that post. They took him back to Chillicothe, refusing the governor's offer of £100 if they would part with their favorite. The king
Hold
of
on,
the
hold on,
tribe.
hold on. Where did they transfer him at?
They took him back to Chillicothe.
I thought it said Detroit.
Oh, it did up here. Hold on. No, it said, let me see. They refused. It said they refused to deliver him up to the English at Detroit. So they didn't want to take. They
Oh,
tried. They
okay.
wanted to take him there, but
Hold on. Now we're finna cover some shit. Now we're talking about the superiors, the lands of the superiors. That's why they mentioned Detroit. You see what I'm saying? The India
yeah.
Superior? Right. And that's where the kings and queens had most of the meetings. And right there on the other side of Detroit, going through Toronto, you got Buffalo, New York, but then you keep going east, you got Manhattan, where the World Trade Center is at. The World
Land of
Trade
the
Center.
Kings.
Right. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's proceed. Okay. Da, da, da. And it said was the favorite part. Where was that? Yeah, it was the favorite part. And courtesy and respect. Okay, the king of the tribe treated Boone with great courtesy and respect. Okay, no. We were down here. Somewhere down here. He was adopted into a family. Oh no, we weren't. Let me start back up here. The king of the tribe treated Boone with great courtesy and respect, and he had no reason to complain of his accommodations, as he enjoyed whatever comforts were within the reach of his masters. What? He was adopted into a family according to the usual Indian custom, in which position, he says, I became a son and had a great share in the affection of my new parents, brothers, sisters, and friends. I was exceedingly familiar and friendly with them, always appearing as cheerful and satisfied as possible. And they put great confidence in me. They're talking about Daniel Boone still, right?
Yep, an adoption.
Mm. Mm-mm.
An adoption.
Check that out. He kept. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying cracker.
Right. Crunchy ass cracker. He kept his captivity. His captivity lasted until the month of June. When returned from a salt-making excursion on the Skiato, he found 450 Shawanee warriors collected with arms and war paint and bound on an expedition against Boonesboro. This excited him to attempt an escape, that he might forewarn the settlement of the intent. He fled a little before. Now listen, you hear this shit. So now he gonna go tell on them after they done adopted his ass and was taking care of him. Ain't that what he's saying? This incited him to attempt
Yes,
an
sir.
escape.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They got 1,000 bows and arrows, and they got 1,500 tomahawks. Yes, sir. They got that many weapons, sir.
This old coon. This coon. He fled a little before day on the 16th and made the journey of 160 miles supported by a single meal. The bold and astonishing defense of the little fort at Boonesboro in the month of August against a large force of Indians, accompanied by certain Frenchmen, is simply the unostentatiously described in the autobiography of this redoubtable pioneer. The enemy, after a siege of 12 days, in which every expedient of force and treachery failed to dislodge the garrison, were forced to retire without affecting their purpose. One of their stratagems was as follows: a treaty was proposed by the assailants, and after the articles were drawn up in front of the fort and formally signed in the words of the narrative, the Indians told us in a customary with them at such occasions for two Indians to shake hands with every white man on the treaty as an evidence of entire friendship. We agreed to this, but were soon convinced their policy was to take us prisoners. Mm-hmm. They immediately grappled us.
I told you. Grab the crackers. We need them to work. Grab the crackers.
But though surrounded by hundreds of savages, they came with that. By hundreds of savages, that everybody is savage. By hundreds of savages, we extricated ourselves from them and escaped all safe into the garrison, except one that was wounded through a heavy fire from their army. Boone wasn't no good. He was a trick. Boone took
Think about it, sis. Remember how they got that saying, Polly wants a cracker? Polly wanted a cracker. Polly wanted the cracker to be working their fields. Ooh. See, these sayings go back into a stigma too. Polly wanted a cracker. That's why the bird said, Polly wanted a cracker. And guess what? The pirate was colored motherfuckers with the parrots on it.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
They always got that parrot sitting on their shoulder, ready.
Yep. Let's go.
Boone took a prominent part in many of the contests which preceded the quiet occupation of the land of his choice, and underwent toils, dangers, and privations I'm sorry, and privations seldom awarded to any one man, but he lived to enjoy the fruits of his labors. An old Indian, upon the occasion of one of the more important treaties of session, I heard of that before, treaties of session, after signing the articles, took Boone by the hand, saying, "Brother, we have given you a fine land." They done gave him a fine land after he done went and but I believe you will have much trouble in settling it. The old settler adds, speaking of the former appellation bestowed on this debatable ground, my footsteps have often been marked with blood. Therefore, I can truly subscribe to its original name. Two daring sons and a brother have I lost by savage hands. Many dark and sleepless nights have I been a companion for owls separated from the cheerful society of men, scorched by the summer sun and pinched by the winter's cold. An instrument ordained to settle the wilderness. But now the scene is changed. Peace crowns and sylvan shade. Chapter
Peace,
2.
peace crowns and what? Peace crown,
Yeah,
crown.
it
What
says
is a crown?
peace
Hold
crowns
on.
and sylvan shade. A sylvan shade, brother. I don't know what that is.
But you know, we all know what a crown is.
What is a sylvan shade?
More than likely, it's gonna be some royal too.
Maybe some type of a flag, maybe when it says a shade, maybe a flag or something of the sort. Okay.
or ornament that goes on your crown or some shit.
Right, right. They do be having all kind of stuff on them crowns sometimes. You right.
Right. And see, that's why I said that crown, we the royal people. So in order, like what they're talking about, see this is the thing. We reading a book I'm starting to see that was written by somebody that might not ever made it to America. And these
Mm,
are and a lot of these stories is what happened in wars before the foreigners came in, like the Brits and the Indians fighting against the French and the Indians. This is American land. These were all indigenous people fighting against each other in groups, just like the Bloods having wars. The Bloods gonna go and get another set of Bloods to join them to fight against some common enemies.
mhm.
Right. So that's why you got the treaty between Albany and Delaware and all of that shit. People got to look that up. And Albany whooped on Delaware pretty bad. That's why Delaware was looking for an alliance. So when them Spanish conquistadors came in, the Delaware was the first to sell out. They got tired of getting their ass whooped up.
It was weak. Okay,
Which
division of the Delawares. White Eyes and Pipe. Indian Confederacy of
hold
1781.
on. Didn't I just mention the Delaware?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Attack on Bryan Station and battle near the Blue Licks. General Clark's expedition, disastrous campaigns of Harmer and St. Clair, military operations of General Wayne, decisive battle near the Maumee Rapids, and subsequent treaty of peace. I want to see. Did y'all want to go past? What do you think, bro? Should we go down, read just a little of this, and maybe go down some more? Because I actually kind of started in mid to get to that story. I passed a lot of stuff, but we only like halfway through the book, so we could like read a little of this and then go down see if it's something interesting. Because
I was
give
gonna say,
detail as to what's in the chapter. Go
I
ahead,
was
bro.
gonna
What you
say,
say?
just read a little bit of that. I'm gonna be having to check out in about 2030. But what I'm saying,
Okay.
we can read a little bit of that and kind of decipher that. What I'm saying. But it's crazy how I was just breaking down how the Delaware was trying to find ways of getting out of getting their ass whooped up, and then you read the first sentence talking about see, this is how the channels. This is how the Most High put channeling together. You know what I'm saying? We channeling on some whole different shit. Because most of the shit I've been saying today, you go right behind me and read it in that book.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like this real channeling right here. So keep it. Let's get a little bit more out, and then we'll get back on some part two shit.
Okay. It says, as the settlements of the Europe to increase, the The Delawares gradually moved from their old quarters on the river and bay, which bear their name. It bears their name. This is where the Delaware comes from. It's their name, to the wilderness of the West. No small portion of the tribe was, at the breaking out of the Revolutionary War, settled in Ohio on the banks of the Muskingum, and in the adjacent country, the Muskingum. Every influence was brought to bear by the English emissaries among the Delawares to induce them to take up the hatchet against the rebellious Americans. The effort was in part successful. A large party headed by the celebrated Captain Pipe, a chief of the Wolf tribe, declared for the king, while those inclined to peace and neutrality, or whose sympathies were on the side of the colonies, remained under the guidance of Coca Coca-Cogitan. That's the best way I could say it. And
There's
Coca-Guatan. Oh, I think I heard that before. Say it again.
Coca-Guatan.
Coca-Guatan. I think I heard that before. Anglice, Captain White Eyes, the disasters and complexities in which the nation was involved by such a division might readily be foreseen. Both the opposing leaders were men of talent, energy, and boldness, and each was heart and soul enlisted in the cause to which he had united himself. It is recorded of White Eyes that early in the war, he met with the deputation of the Senecas, then, as we have seen, in the English interest, and boldly avowed his own opinion. In reply to the old taunt thrown out by one of the Iroquois of former subjection and humiliation, the chief broke forth indignity. I know well that you consider us a conquered nation as women, as your inferiors. You have, as women. So it was an all women tribe, is what it sounds like. You have, say, you shortened our legs and put petticoats on us.
No,
you say you have given us a hope.
He's saying you think we turned into some bitches in this motherfucker.
Oh,
he like you calling us some women ass niggas just as we superior, and y'all trying to make us inferior. And this right here is a description of why I've been breaking down earlier how the deception of the same color folk pretending to be Indian and shit has manipulated shit.
right.
That's why he's saying what he's saying as far as you think that we turned into a women nation.
Like, he said, I know well that you consider us a conquered nation as women. So because y'all looking at, because they say women are below or beneath, so they saying you're right.
Yeah.
Wow, you right. He's like, nigga, we ain't no.
We ain't no hoe, nigga. He took the fuck out of him.
He said you say you have given us a hoe and a corn pounder and told us to plant and pound for you. You men, you warriors, but look at me. Am I not full grown? And have I not a warrior's dress? I am a man, and these are the arms of a man. All right now. And all that country, pointing toward the Allegheny, on the other side of the water, is mine. White Eyes was signally successful in his efforts to undeceive the Indians within his influence, who had been tampered with and imposed upon by the English agents, or excited by sympathy with the war parties. Which took place at Takaras in the winter of 1779 to 1780. Was a very unfortunate event for the Americans. He died of that great scourge of the Indian races, the smallpox, brought up here by these nasty, filthy beings.
Hey, hold on. Stop right there for a sec. Now, I'm going to explain to people what they're talking about. See, that's why I kind of realized that this person that wrote this book never came to America, and he heard about the greatness. But that what they're describing is the meeting where I think it was four Indian kings
Mhm.
had met. It was four Indian kings and an Indian queen had met with some of the rulers that were in Brit, because Brit and English. See, what we got to realize is not to be hateful or anything, but the English Empire was the East Coast. They still have this confidence, and a lot of them don't even know why. But from from Carolina going all the way up to Maine, it's the English Empire. It's in your blood to feel super royal and confident. And this is the confidence that the English Indians basically were this just genetically in them. So when you meet people from Jersey, New York, and all of this, is naturally super confidence in them. It's nothing wrong with that, but we got to understand where it comes from. That's ancient energy. So when you're dealing with like this conversation with this book, it's telling you how these Indians from different nations or territories came and met with these people in the empire of the East Coast and was telling them, hell no, that shit that way, that's my shit. Fuck y'all. And
Mhm.
because of the English Indian had the brute Indians, which were from Nova Scotia, North Canada, Northeast Canada, up there from Toronto going up into Canada, because they had they back up, they like, well, shit, we might as well try to get more land. And this is where these paleface had came in and did this Boston Tea Party shit. That was the paleface fucking our shit up. It was
Mhm.
mad as hell. And they realized they got some people that look just like us to fight against us.
Sick.
It's this shit is we getting there. We getting there. Go ahead, sis.
It said the spring of 1781 was a terrible season for the white settlements in Kentucky and the whole border country. The savages who surrounded them had never shown so constant and systematic a determination for murder and mischief. Early in the summer, a great meeting of Indian deputies from the Shawanaes, the Delawares, the Cherokees, the Wyandots, the Tawas, the Potawatomis, and divers endeavors other tribes from northwestern lakes met in grand council of war at the old Chillicothe. The persuasions and influence of the two infamous whites, one McKee and the notorious Simon Gerty, inflamed their savage minds to mischief and led them to execute every diabolical scheme. So, with this, in part two, guys, I'm gonna get into some other stuff, but when I do part two, we're gonna talk about this, right? Because there was the alchemy of the mind, right? I keep saying I got to do this alchemy bill. I got to do the alchemy bill before I do this part two and before we get into that part, because I really want you guys to understand about the alchemy of the mind when it came to the spirits. This is why they always say, oh, them Indians, they always getting drunk. No, it's because they put that out there as a thing, because they used that as a weapon. That was like that was the hardest weapon that they had against the Indian people at the time, because it was the spirit of the alchemy that they were using in those alcoholic beverages, and our people were falling victim to, and this is how they lost a lot of stuff too. But we're gonna get into that. But I'm gonna show you. First we're gonna do the alchemy video, and then we're gonna get into that because I want y'all to understand this. So just remember this when those two videos. This is important. Inflamed their savage mind to mischief and led them to execute every diabolical scheme. Bryan Station, a post 5 miles from Lexington, was fixed upon by the advice of the Gertie as a favorable point for the first attack. About 500 Indians and white encompassed the place accordingly on the 15th of August. Stratagem and assault alike failed to. Oh Lord, I swear I don't know why I can't read y'all. I'm sorry. Stratagem and assault alike failed to effect an entrance. A small reinforcement from Lexington managed to join the garrison and the besiegers. They were compelled to retire on the third day, having lost 30 of their number. When Gertie came forward On one occasion, during the siege, bearing a flag of truce and proposing a surrender, he was received with every expression of disgust and contempt. His offers were spurned, and he retired, cursing and cursed to his followers. To his followers, the enemy were pursued on their return by Colonels Todd and Tragg, Daniel Boone, and Major Hartland, and with 176 men. The rashness of some individuals of this party who were unwilling to listen to the prudent advice of Boone that an engagement should be avoided until a large expected reinforcement should arrive, led to their utter discomfiture. They came up with the Indians at a bend in Licky River, beyond the Blue Licks, and had hardly forded the stream. Forded the stream. Oh Lord, had hardly forded the stream. And when they were attacked by an overpowering force, the enemy had cut off all escape, except by recrossing the river, in the attempt to accomplish which multitudes were destroyed. 77 of the Americans were killed, among the number, and 3 principal officers and the sons of Boone. The outrage of the savages were soon after this signally punished. General Clark, at the head of the 1,000 men, rendezvoused at Fort Washington, where Cincinnati now stands. Invaded the Indian Territory. The inhabitants fled in terror at the approach of the formidable army, leaving their towns to be destroyed. We continued our pursuits. Boom. We went through, tore their shit up, and kept it moving. Who was with the army through 5 towns on the Miami River. Old Chillicothe. They keep saying the Old Chillicothe is the Miami River. Peckaway, New Chillicothe, Willis Towns, and Chillicothe, if I'm saying it right. Burnt them all to ashes, entirely destroying their corn and other fruits, and everywhere spread a scene of desolation in the whole country. What you want to say about that, bro?
You kill the food supply, you can damn near starve them out.
What you say, bro? I couldn't hear you.
I said to cut the food supply off, you starve them out.
That's crazy. It's showing how they destroyed. It said they went through the whole country doing this, y'all. Did y'all hear how they said they did this? They went through there. They burnt everything to ashes. Every town they went through. Every town they pushed the people out and then burnt the entire town to ashes so they couldn't come back. Entirely destroying everything. This is ignorance. Yeah, this stupid shit. You're gonna destroy it instead of using it, or you know what I'm saying? They rather get rid of it.
Listen, this is like, you got to remember that you got a white writer that's writing something they heard from books and a whole bunch of other things, and they still got to propagate it for their narrative to be strong. That didn't happen throughout the whole country. See, when you think of country, they're thinking of territory. So when they're saying throughout the whole country, that's as far as they've been. It's not talking about from New York, Baltimore, all the way up there, all the way down to Georgia and Florida, all the way across Mississippi. It's impossible. That's why the North can never win a war against the South. We'll talk about that one day too.
Okay. After the hostilities between England and America had ceased, these Western tribes of Indians still continued to molest the border inhabitants of the colonies. Attempts to bring about conferences failed signally in producing any marked or permanent benefit, and it was determined by the government to humble them by the force of arms. In the autumn of 1791, General Harmer marched into the Indian Territory at the head of nearly 1,500 men. The campaign was signally unsuccessful. The army returned to Fort Washington, dispirited and broken down, having sustained a heavy loss in men and officers, and with the mortifying consciousness of an utter failure in the accomplishments at the end in view. Major General Arthur St. Clair was appointed to the command of the next expedition. With a force of more than 200 men, he marched toward the Indian settlements and on the 3rd of November, 1791, encamped within 15 miles of the Miami villages. On his way from Fort Washington to this point, he had built the garrison Forts Hamilton and Jefferson. By this reduction of his troops and by a more intensive loss from the dissertation from the I swear, y'all know I'm tired when I get like this. Y'all got to excuse me, but I'm gonna finish this up in a minute. Bro about to jump off too, so I'm gonna be ending it right after that. And yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. Let me start this part over, okay? By this reduction of his troops and by a more extensive loss from the desertion of some hundreds of cowardly militia, he had at the time of which we are speaking but about 1,400 effective soldiers. The Confederates kept themselves perfectly informed by their scouting parties of all the enemy's movements and emboldened by recent success, prepared to give the advancing army a warm reception. This is Chief of the Delawares. Dang, it's so dark you can't even see this picture. They got it darked out. It's a little drawing, but they got it so dark when they copied it. You know, this book, if you guys can see it, let me back up. It's darkened. It's photocopied. This is like the last book, like that they had. It was only so many that had been copies of this particular book. So it is it's a very expensive book too. So I'm glad that they did have this book on here. Okay. Chief of the Delawares, and wait, no, I'm going back to make sure I finished that right. Okay, the principal leader of the United Nations. Oh, so there was the United Nations back then. Was the celebrated Miami chief. So we had the original United Nations as well as all the government that we know. So even the United Nations, I thought that was just something new, but it was back then. Was
Yeah,
celebrated by
The United Nations actually fought against the goddamn government system that came here. So then you had the United Nations war against the federal. See, this man, I'm telling you, the
like
Union.
We should be doing now.
Yep, the UN fought against the Union and the federal. I mean, this shit is deep.
Okay, it was celebrated by the Miami chief Michikanakwa, or Little Turtle. He was one of the greatest warriors and most sagacious rulers ever known among the red men, and he had now an opportunity for the full display of his abilities. An immense horde of fierce savages, impatient for war, was under his control, and his movements were seconded by able subordinates. Among these, the most noted were Bacchanhellas, now war chief of the Delawares, and Blue Jacket and Shawanee. According to Colonel Stone and Great Mohawk's chief Joseph Brant, Thea de Nega was also present, lending the assistance of his counsel and arms. Hurons or Wyandots, Iroquois, Ottawas, Potawatomis, Chippewas, Miamis, Delawares, and Shawanees, with a host of minor tribes, were collected to rebel the common enemy. The number of their warriors assembled on the present occasion is estimated to have been about 1,500, although some had set it down at twice that force. So it could have been anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000. Before the rising of the sun on the following day, November the 4th, the savages fell upon the camp of the whites Never was a more decisive victory obtained. In vain did the American general and his officers exert themselves to maintain order and to rally the bewildered troops. The Indians, firing from covert, thinned the rank and picked off the officers by a contagious and murderous discharge. A disorderly retreat was the result. Artillery, baggage, and no small portion of the small arms of the militia fell into the hands of the excellent pursuers. Fort Jefferson was nearly 30 miles distant, and thither the defeated army directed its flight. The Indians followed close among the fugitives, cutting down and destroying at will until, as it reported, one of their chiefs called out to them to stop, and they had killed enough. The temptation offered by the plunder and to be obtained at the camp induced the Indians to return, and the remnant of the invaded army reached Fort Jefferson about sunset. The loss in this battle on the part of the whites was no less than 894 in killed, wounded, and missing. 38 officers and 593 non-commissioned officers and privates were slain or missing. The Indians lost but few of their men. Judging from a comparison of the different accounts, not much over 50. At the deserted camp the victorious tribes took up their quarters and delivered themselves up to riot and exultation. General Scott, with a regiment of mounted Kentucky volunteers, drove them from the spot a few weeks later. With the loss of their plunder and of some 200 of their warriors, with the loss of more than some 200 of their warriors. No further important movement was made to overthrow the power of the Indians for nearly 300 from this period. No negotiation proved utterly fruitless with a race of savages inflated by their recent brilliant successes and consequently exorbitant in their demands. When it was finally evident that nothing but force could check the continents of border murders and robbery, an army was collected and put under the command of General Wayne, sometimes called Mad Anthony, in a rude style of compliment to his energy and courage, not uncommon in those times. The Indians denominated him the Black Snake. The winter of 1793, Ford was spent in fortifying a military post at Greenville on the Miami and another named Fort Recovery. Upon the field of St. Clair defeat, the last mentioned station was furiously attacked by the Indians, assisting with certain Canadians and English on the 30th of the following June, but without success. It was not until August 1794 that General Wayne felt himself efficiently reinforced and his military post sufficiently strengthened and supplied to justify active operations in the enemy's country. I think we're going to end it there, guys. And we'll end this right here. We're about at 2 hours, real quick. I wanted to say thank you, Joy, for my super sticker, dear. And shout out to everybody for coming through for the information. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Got some good info. Thank you, brother, for jumping up here to join me. It gives me time to kind of take a break. I'm a little disorientated when I get tired and stuff, so it helps me when you elaborate, and you always got the good info, and that was perfect. You had everything to line it up, so it was perfect. You came right in time, so you definitely appreciate it. You already know.
You already know, man. This is the sharing of information, not the debate, just to share it, But yeah, this is some good shit. This was nice build fire.
The League of Nations. So there's the League of Nations. Why do you always come here to my sun gazing? LOL. What's funny? What are you talking about? Why do you do that every time? I notice that you do that every time you jump in my chat. Like, I don't get it. Like, is it a joke to you about sun gazing? Like, I don't get it. What's wrong with you? You're gonna end up needing to just stay away from my chat with all that nonsense. But I don't like that negative stuff. It take me other places. Don't do it.
See,
Do it.
you got to remember there's a lot of grown adults that be on this YouTube stuff, man. You know, a lot of grown kids, and
But he
then
do that all the time though. Even kid, like I mean, even if he thought it was a joke or it's something funny to him, you say it 2 or 3 times. Okay, I mean it's like every time he come in the chat, it's like crazy.
obviously he haven't learned and he don't know the properties of energy.
Yes, you're welcome, sis. I appreciate you, darling. Appreciate everybody that came through. Suzanne, Just Joy. Just Joy, thanks again for the super sticker, darling. That was my first little super sticker. My brother, No Lies, I appreciate you for coming through, bro. Yes, yes. Darlene, thanks for coming through, darling. Appreciate you. Shout out to everybody. If I missed anyone, Yahweh, I always say his name wrong, brother. Would you tell me his name? Do you
Ooh,
do you do you know how to put it's highlighted right here? This brother name, the one I know who it is. I just can't pronounce his
yeah,
name.
yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Oh, it's just yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for coming through, brother. I was on Squid Build with him a couple of times. He's very insightful. Learning and building peace, brother. I don't think I've seen you in a minute. Peace, peace,
Yeah,
peace, peace.
peace, learning and building peace, my brother. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes.
Yeah, we gonna be back at it again. But
Squid, my brother.
Red
Peace.
Square, peace to the God. Peace, peace. I'll be over at your channel.
And
All
Jen
right.
Marte, thanks again for coming through, and joining us today. And Jermaine, thanks. This is my first time seeing both of you guys in here, so welcome and please come again and enjoy
Yeah,
the
they know you tired because you ain't got no music to go out with.
listen. I'm just like, y'all, it's time to go.
Like, yeah, she burned. She ain't even got no outro music.
No, bro, I could do at least no, I ain't gonna do one. I ain't gonna do one, y'all. I'm
Yeah,
gonna just leave it at
we
that.
would just
But
enjoy,
I
you know.
appreciate y'all, brother. Go ahead and do your shout outs to the chat.
Yeah, man, just shout out to the guys and goddess, the real ones. You know what I'm saying? That the ones that's open to new knowledge, man. We all gotta be SpongeBob's. You know, walk around absorbing every information that's tangible. You know, let go of the nonsense, and we can't give energy to the nonsense that comes around trying to vampire off our shit. You know, we gotta start cutting them motherfuckers loose too.
Right. And you say don't burn your eyes. Okay, brother. Have you watched my video on photic retinopathy? If you haven't, you should. And that there's a immediate purpose behind the sun gazing and literally doing what you're saying, burning your eyes. Is what you would think it is. Getting rid of a faulty layer of membrane, that people have a casting over their eyes that you were naturally born into this physical realm with. It's every to each his own. It might not be for everybody. Might not be able to handle it. Because it actually opens a person up to colors, shapes, energies, different
Hold
things.
on, man. Let me get a little
That's
bit
a
of that.
medical fact. Check it
Flat
out.
out, flat
Photic
out, flat out.
retinopathy.
Hold on, sis. Let me get a little bit of that. Just to let you know, little dude, every morning, 7:30, going out the door, I sun gaze. And I really don't have to eat until after lunch. I mean, to like 1, 2 o'clock because of the energy from the sun, that vitamin A, B, C, D, all the way up. That that powers me up to where I really don't have to have food in my stomach, bro. And I'm a carpenter. So my work is heavy labor work. So when you learn what sun gazing is, you'll stop joking about it and stop being a grown ass little kid running around here. Sun gazing, ha ha ha. Dude, we about information around here. Ain't no jokes.
Period. No lies. If you're sitting out there going out after the sun has shifted and has different things covering it, that's a little different. You might have some burning or something in your eyes behind that, but yeah, pretty much that's that. I still appreciate you coming through. He said, "Who do you believe, Lord?" I don't even be knowing where people be coming from. Sometimes it's like texting and typing. You sometimes you don't get it because I definitely don't get this one. But I'm a leave. I definitely don't get that one. Let me go up here to what the brother put. Highlight that and go out here with that. All right, brother. Peace and love. Thanks again for joining me. And yeah, we did. I'm gonna actually get at you and have you let you know when I'm doing the part 2 to make sure you're not busy. So you can definitely join me from the top of that. We're gonna get back into the rest of this because
Right.
this is definitely another interesting one for you guys to think about. So hope y'all enjoyed it. And yeah, peace, love, blessings to all. Make sure you guys are flying high and soaring and get up and get you some sun in the morning. Energize yourself, replenish your body, get bacteria out of your body that should not be in there. Replenishing with positive ions that actually help your body and replenish things to the sufficiency that it needs to be to function. Like the brother said, he can go without eating for hours. You know, you can literally live off of the sun if you can eat it.
Yeah, and no ledge didn't hear what I said. Our sun gaze when the sun is rising, when it's in the dusk. So when the sun is coming around at the beginning is when you catch it. So trust me, bro. I've been doing this for years, my dude. It ain't nothing new to me.
No, bro. I think he was talking to White Falcon, telling him, yeah, it would probably burn you if you're looking at the effed up.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. My bad. No ledge. Yeah, because if you look at that bitch at noontime, you will cook the
Yeah.
fuck out of your eyeball. You know what I'm saying? Anytime from after 10 o'clock to damn near 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, you cooking your shit.
He's
Yeah.
right. So he's right. Yep. I appreciate you guys. So yeah, brother. Peace, love, and blessings. And until next time, guys. Y'all have a good one.